3, 2, 1.
We've made some changes today, thanks to our, I don't know what we call him, spirit
benefactor.
Guide? Sure. Mr. David Jackson and Mr.
Daddy.
Ginger Stick. Daddy. Don't call me Daddy. So we've got this wonderful thing that Adam, I'm assuming, put together.
Oh,
it flies in out of nowhere. Dave did.
Dave did that, yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's him out of nowhere. It just flies in.
And flies out. And then flips in.
There it is. We could do this all day. This would be some quality viewing. Quality viewing. Does it do the, is it always the same? Okay, so then it's that with sweeping back into the left.
Dave did that on purpose.
So it's been 2 weeks. Packers season was over.
Yeah.
Now it's playoff time. But before we talk about playoffs, there's a couple Packers things that will be in the news for a while. Mr. Aaron Charles Rodgers and his situation.
What's that?
I think that...
I refuse to engage this man. Come back or don't. I don't give a shit.
I don't think he's coming back.
Really?
I don't.
Is that because of the interviews that he's given? Or you just think he's had enough?
Well, we can all agree that Aaron Rodgers is very calculated with when he has his, McAfee show, how he words things, and he kind of sends messages through the media.
It's super fun.
It's
great.
super fun because everybody who's watched him knows that this is how he does it.
Right.
So what I think, his message has totally shifted since training camp. I want to retire a Packer. Yeah. That's how it started.
Yeah.
Then they started doing bad. And then I think he was getting frustrated, as we all saw, with the team around him. And he was involved in the trade stuff and all that, whatever, because they wanted to give him an ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then his message sort of shifted to, well, it's got to be mutual.
Right.
That's got to be mutual.
Which, again, how could a team make it any clearer that they want you to be their quarterback? They let you make all the decisions, and they gave you $40 million. What more do you need? And they all did interviews. We're like, yes. LaFleur immediately was like, yeah, we want him back. Yeah.
Right. I think there's definitely some media gamesmanship here to make sure they're saying the right things. Of course we want him back. Of course we want him back. But what's changed in the messaging...
Like what's happening in Baltimore.
I think what has changed with his messages, he's always been consistent. It has to be both ways, and a lot of the assumption was, oh, the Packers have to want me back. That's not what he was saying. What he's saying is it has to be mutual, meaning himself. I have to believe that the team is headed in the right direction.
Sure.
So I have a feeling, in a sense, that when he was meeting last week, and he does that interview after he had met with the Packers on the previous week, is that the message is now it has to make sense for both sides.
Sure.
It has to, and it's like, and maybe that means I have to go to another team. As soon as he said that, I think we all should have been aware of okay, he's never said that before. He's now sending out a message that maybe if I don't like the situation...
Was he not kind of saying that stuff before the new contract?
He didn't specifically... He said he wanted to be a Packer for life and taken care of. That was his general. And he felt like he was denied that.
Sure.
When they drafted Jordan Love, he was going to get shipped out. He didn't like that.
Right.
They reconciled. He wanted more power, more say. He literally got everything.
Yeah.
But now his message is changing noticeably. Mm-hmm. And I think what may have happened is guy who's in charge of the entire team for the longevity, Brian Gutekunst, is like, absolutely, come on back, but just know that our cap's a mess, so we can't bring back all your buddies.
And Rodgers went out of his way to set this list of guys that he wants back.
That are all free agents.
And some of them who are just, again, I like to treat these like human beings because they're human beings.
What?
Did you see that thing where Aaron Jones responded to someone's
jeez,
that broke my heart. I love Aaron Jones, but again, they're people, and I don't want to shit talk, but some of these people are probably done.
They have to be done.
You age out of the league,
right? Yep. There's no reason Randall Cobb should be on the team,
or
Mason Crosby,
Mason Crosby probably,
or maybe. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made Bakhtiari, for his own good.
Because they actually can do a lot with his contract.
Sure.
So they'll probably keep him. And
But my thing was like, if Rodgers is like giving himself the out of like,
he's already.
I mean, I would have stayed if they had kept all these guys that I knew they were never going to keep.
Exactly.
So
well, and that's just. But Goody's job is setting up for the future while looking at the current situation, and he's probably got to say like, we also have to figure out what to do with Jordan.
yeah.
And Aaron has been said like, well, Jordan's my friend, and I want him to do well, and I just feel like the messaging that he's given has changed.
Yeah.
In a way.
I think the question becomes, and again, I'm so hesitant to like get into it and the wondering, but like my whole approach to like this podcast that now has lights and stuff.
Just
like,
for today.
It's just buddies sitting around shooting the shit, and it happens to be filmed, So like, my question is, I don't think the market for him is as big as anybody thinks it is. And I especially like, I've heard people that I respect and like think know what they're talking about say like, the Packers probably won't get much, if anything, in return for him. They just won't have to pay him anymore. Like the best any team is going to offer is like, we'll take his contract, but we're not going to give you first round picks. We're not going to give you anything.
I see. Yeah. I don't.
He's 39 and just had like maybe one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in my life. And he's
broken thumb. There's the excuse.
Sure, but I also think it matters when you don't have a relationship with him the way Packer fans do and the Packers organization does. He's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to take a very special owner and head coach and GM to go like, let's definitely pay this 39-year-old inconsistent, never been able to close guy $40 million to do drugs during the offseason, which again, he's doing drugs that I think should be legal. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying if I'm a 60-year-old billionaire, he's doing drugs in the offseason and not coming to training camp, and he's talking about whatever, and I just don't want to deal with any of it.
Yeah. I think that all it takes is one team to be interested.
Who do you think?
I would say
because it has to be someone he'd want to go to, and someone the Packers would want to send him to.
If I had to pick, I think people should be zoning in on the Raiders.
I was going to say, but do you think
they're not that far? They have a good defense.
They have good
offense.
But do you think that hurts Rodgers' pride?
No.
Do you not? Do you? Do you think that's a little bit of a tacit admission of like, I can't do it without Devontae?
Oh no. I don't know about that. Well, he's. There's maybe a story there, but as one team, I think that they're like without that storyline. I think he'd be like, "Oh, I get to play with Devontae again." Like,
it makes a ton of sense. I think it would be fun to live in Vegas. I think,
yeah. Otherwise, Nashville, he has a house there. They need a quarterback.
What about Indianapolis?
I mean, they're in rebuild mode. I don't know that he would want to go there. They have a great running back, but like, look at the Titans. They have a great defense. They have a coach that he's friends with, best running back in the league.
He already has a house there.
He has a house there. They have a ton of cap space. It's probably a mid to upper, it's a middle of the road draft pick. It's not too high in the first round. They could probably, but look at, like, you just have to look back at like Stafford. He was late 30s too when he got traded to the Rams.
He was late 30s, but I don't think
really bad actually for a few years.
I don't think he was bad. I think
he wasn't himself.
Forget if he was bad or good. Let's talk storylines because that's what it's about. The storyline around Matt Stafford was the team is holding him back. The storyline around Aaron Rodgers is kind of like the opposite. It's kind of like he's just not able to do it no matter who you put around him. Like, because lest we forget, he was on a team with Davante Adams for years. Yeah. And I'm counting rings and none.
Yeah. I mean, well, one.
With Davante?
Oh, none with Davante.
Yeah.
But one.
The nice thing about Tennessee is it's close enough that you can box up Randall Cobb and have him shipped down there, and he won't
put him in the crate. He's small.
Yeah.
Easy to get him down there.
You carry on.
Just put him in your carry on. Randall, hop in. I know it's a mid-tier flight, but you should be able to get up in the upper rack. Okay.
It is a tricky thing to talk about because I don't want to be one of those people that like, so-and-so's washed and so-and-so sucks. Like, they're human beings.
Right.
And, if you're like a real fan of the game and of the team, like, you can't help but have like, I think some people kind of reveled in turning on Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
It bummed me out. Like, every time he says something that I'm like, oh, phooey. A part of me is going like, most of my life I've been rooting for you and like liking you and reading cool
really
stories
hard,
about you, and why are you making it so hard? And even like
here, man.
Bakhtiari's starting to tweet all kinds of shit, and I'm just.
Well,
I think we all just have to get off Twitter. That's going to save the world.
Dude, we could talk about it. I like maybe 3 months ago, something in my brain just like snapped or powered down, and I just I can't do any of it anymore. Like the Facebook, Instagram, I can't. It makes me so sad, and none of it's real, and it doesn't excite me at all, and it feels like a waste of time. I just hate it.
There's supposedly, I think it's Tony Evers is doing something to block TikTok for state workers or something on their phones or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, just think about it. You're just going to take videos of yourself all day doing various different things, and it sits in a database that then you don't really know where it goes.
And the TikTok thing in particular is like their user agreement is pretty much like, this is our phone now.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, like it tracks like it tracks
a lot.
Your location. It tracks all the names and types of the files on your phone. It tracks like who you're with. It tracks like your outgoing calls. Like it gets access to your whole phone.
Yeah. I don't really like, and the thing is like I forget who was talking about this, but like kids, like they're growing up in this like weird, false TikTok video. It doesn't count unless it's out posted somewhere. Mm-hmm. Everything all the time. Yeah, and I don't know. Like it's not good for mental health because it's not at all, especially when you're young. But
and it's like my thing is bad for your mental health. And think about like, and I try to talk to Oliver about, because I have a 13-year-old. So this is a fairly pressing issue.
Does he have a phone? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't have any like social media accounts or anything. He has Snapchat on his phone. Yeah. But that's really more of like a messaging app, I guess, for him and his friends.
And you read it deletes or whatever. And
yeah. But like, and he's got very strict rules about the phone, and like I know the password to the phone, and But like what I try to talk to him about is like, it's designed to make you not want to do anything else. Right. And think about all the other stuff you like. Mm-hmm. Like I'll catch him like, he'll be like reading a book or like playing bass or something, and then he'll go, I'm going to go check my phone. And I'll go, why? You're having fun. Mm-hmm. You're happy. And he goes, yeah. Huh. And then he'll just like go back to his book. But like like I don't think a lot of parents, to a degree, I think it's kind of pointless to try to stand between your kids and technology past a certain point. It's just, because like you're just putting off the inevitable. Mm-hmm. What you can do is like have kind of real conversations with them about like, is this even really making you happy? You know?
Mm-hmm. Or why is it taking a part of your day away from things that you do enjoy? Right. And I think it's, and part of the discussion too is, and you guys are doing it obviously, but limiting the access and then getting back to what it's supposed to do. It's for emergencies. Mm-hmm. Like, which is initially why he got, he was at an age where he's going to people's houses and and we felt kind of weird that like he can't really get a hold of us. Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's a flip phone, I assume. It's not. They actually have a flip phone. I know. So when we were renewing, a lot of like I know grown-ups that are switching back to a flip phone. I wouldn't mind it. The only thing is like it's like the camera and the ability to like record demos and stuff. Like as a musician, sometimes a smartphone is pretty sweet. Yeah, record and you're good. But as far as like, I'd be totally happy without any. And I've talked to a lot of people like roughly our age that are all just kind of like, you know what? I think I'm fucking done with all this. Like it's just, ugh. Yeah, and it's kind of one thing that is interesting is there's no way you can. Like it has become a utility, and there are utility aspects of all social media, and there's absolutely valuable ways to use it. But the ways to do that are not as easy as somebody being, oh, I can hit post, oh, I can do this. Like there's there's ways that you can do it to make it in a front-facing, functional utility way of putting your business, putting your music out there or whatever in a way that still engages and use it as the utility communication tool that it is. But it's like there's no oversight of really any of it.
And they bury
there
everything.
Has to be. Like, there has to be. That's what needs to change.
Right. But also as like a musician, there's an expectation that you'll use it a certain amount to promote stuff and everything. But like, then you promote stuff and they don't show it to people because you didn't pay them $5 or you didn't make it a video this time or you didn't, you know, whatever. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't even work.
So there's well, and they just changed the algorithm, and I'm learning a lot about this now. Doing a startup for a gummy company that's e-com based is McNuggets, yeah, cool. With weed in them. Ooh, actually, somebody I think that does that already. But just trying to figure out ways that we can just automate and stagger who we are and have it scheduled post things so that we're just sort of operating within the realm of people's purview.
Right.
If they like what we have. Yeah. And then through that sort of targeted approach, we can control the message. We can control it at a staggered rate. We can schedule things. We can, hey, everything's 20% off today. Use this code. Like, that's the function and utility, I think. Like, and there's some bands who do really great work with that, where it's like, hey, everybody, we're in this city, and they have their entire tour schedule just scheduled in and out with all the things, and it just goes and it does that, and then it can like take any responses to that, like, hey, I'm having trouble getting tickets, or hey, I'm having whatever. That will then filter out to the artist so that it can be managed without having to be like the one that's posting it, and then you see all the other shit show that's there. Right. Like, just using tools to be able to just keep the utility of it without getting sunk into the, can you believe that outrage kind of bullshit, which is, or, my God, see this new thing. And it's like,
my big thing
just,
is,
just give me what it is. Like, if I want to know what time a business is open, or, hey, does Bowl 91 have their handmade ramen this week?
Right.
Fuck yeah. Like, I want to be able to see that.
Was that a pun?
Fuck yeah, it should be.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. But like, that's the kind of stuff it should be for.
Right.
And like, same thing for music. People just putting their stuff. Here's where you can find this. Here's where we're playing. Like the same approach of just, it's got to be in the sphere, but in a way where it's not going to just, people are going to be like, wait, look at this new video, or there's a cooking video, or like, what the heck is this dog doing? Now, I like dog videos. So I see them and I'm like, oh, that dog's really cute. And they got me. I just want, no, I'm just kidding. Right. But there's ways to do it. It's just, it's hard to do it. And you have to have an expert, like we are. Thank you, Unlisted LLC locally. Great marketing firm we're working with, who's super knowledgeable in this, by the way. But just understanding the usage of it. And I was just seeing that there's now bipartisan support for some sort of way to regulate things within social media because of the utility aspect that will also not limit the voice of people in a free speech environment. And it's like, how do you do that, though? Like,
my thing is, like, I feel so conflicted about that. Because I really do. I understand that, like, my grandpa fought in World War II. And he came home. Yours too?
I think so.
And he came home and still taught my dad, like, freedom of speech has to mean everything for everybody. Otherwise, who's making the decision? And he came home and, like, when he would see, like, a Nazi flag flying somewhere, and he went over there and, risked his life to put an end to that shit. And he would tell my dad that, like, we kind of have to.
Yeah.
But then there's this other part of me that's like, no, shut the fuck.
And you can say that. Down. And you can say that because it's a free country.
But the problem is, like, I think, and I might be wrong, I don't know the history of it, but, like, this might be the first time that a private citizen or citizens have started a company that has gotten so big that the government almost takes it away from them and runs it for them. Because, like, there is still the very clear, like, well, Twitter's a private company, so they can kick you off if they don't like your profile picture. Right. They're allowed. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been to venues where, like, they have a list of things you're not allowed to wear in that venue, which again,
Like you can't wear a Busch Light sign at Door County Brewery.
no, but like there have been like venues where like you can't wear certain colors because it's in like a gang area or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, okay. Yep.
But like that's not freedom of speech. But it's a private organization. They're allowed to do what they want. And I don't feel nearly smart enough to weigh in on. So we have these between 3 and 10 social media companies that like are privately owned companies. But it's also undeniable that like it's gotten so big, and like some like political candidates don't even have websites anymore. They only have Facebook pages, and it's like. Yeah. Well, if the whole of our political process is going to take place here, then maybe there should be some more constitutional looking, you know.
Yeah, if it's going to be used as a utility.
But I still like, I walk down the street and I see a guy flying a flag that says "fuck your feelings," and a part of me feels like they should make him take that down. Like there's kids out here. You know, Tori and I always say there's just too many people that we can't have common sense rules, and like the neighborhood just goes like, "Hey, man. We're not doing fuck flags in this neighborhood. Take it down." What do you think, Adam? Fix it.
Fix it.
Tell us how to fix it.
Fix it, ginger stick.
I can't fix it.
The world's getting zucked, and you need to put a stop to it. Go.
No, I have the same. I think me and you have very similar opinions on that stuff too. But like, I know at one point we were talking about Trump being kicked off of Twitter. Like, where do you draw that line? Because I think we all kind of had differing opinions on it. But it comes to a point where what he was saying and kind of the person he was promoting leads to violence and people being hurt. Real world violence. And real world problems versus somebody just saying fuck you or fuck your feelings. Yeah, it is what it is. Get over it. It stops just being speech. It leads to action. Exactly. Yeah. Like where the freedom of speech line is so blurry. Like
well, and it's there still are rules of things when it comes to like specific hate speech.
Not seemingly for Trump. If they're letting him back on Twitter, I mean.
Well, and it's even
he got thrown off during the January 6th, like during that whole like week or whatever after that. It wasn't specifically because of hate speech, but it was because of misleading and lying statements or whatever. I personally like the way Twitter is set up. You don't have to follow. Like, well, right, and that's the thing. Like you don't have to seek. You don't have to seek it out.
The people that died on January 6th can't be brought back to life by unfollowing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally. Well,
right. It's the people that are harmed by it aren't following him.
Right,
and that's why it's tricky. Because I think you are, of the three of us, and confirm or deny, you're probably like the purest free speech guy.
I guess. I just don't.
Which is a fine thing to be. Like, my grandpa was that guy. Like, I don't judge that. I just think, like, we have to be able to go, all right, this guy's tweets are encouraging people to do murders. Like, we can't have that. But I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Right. And well, and that's the same thing of, like, all the threats to election workers and hearing some of the message that these people got. Well, it's like, is that harassment? Is that something these people should be getting in trouble for?
Here's something that I think also goes along with this too. The amplification of all the messaging itself compared to reality. So we look at the amplification of, red tsunami, red wave, whatever, because if all you did was look at an amplification tool like Twitter, right. You're going to think, man, Democrats are going to get absolutely
People forget trounced. Most people aren't on Twitter, and most people on Twitter don't use it. Like, only 10% of Twitter accounts are like active.
So so you only hear the most outrageous from the left and right because it amplifies things.
Right.
But when you bring it back to reality, those things and the amount of hate crimes and things like that, those are measurable stats. We can't prevent them from happening. We can maybe try to do what we can when it comes to, making sure police are better trained to sniff out when violent crimes could be happening, or you get a tip on organizations that are spending time or might be up to something, or, whatever, when it comes to like the intimidation piece for voters. Yes, it happened. It always happens. But it especially got magnified because the media had been talking about, well, this is going to be the one because it's the one after the big one. And, so I think, but again, it sort of gets over amplified to the actual impact in some cases.
Yeah. But I think too,
that's part of it, though, is like how much of this is actually truthful and outrage versus the actual signal of what's really going to happen. And then it's like, okay, well, if we look at the amplification of certain messages, that's a different thing than someone saying something. Because you could be Joe Schmo with 500 followers and say something totally dumb, the same thing that Donald Trump says,
and it won't matter.
And it doesn't matter because so it's like, okay, it only matters in this one dude's case.
Your level of freedom of speech should be linked directly to your tax bracket.
Correct.
It sort of is now. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think, like, obviously we can't prevent everything, but even going back to the intimidation stuff, we have so many, and both sides do it as far as amplifying.
Oh, yeah.
The craziest people on
it's
their
bad.
side.
But, like, it's almost come to a point of us saying that's okay to talk like that or to treat people like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the problem. They're amongst all the other fucking problems we have.
I think part of the problem, too, is like, and again, I don't, I view this, what we're doing right now, just as an opportunity to hang out with you guys, and it just happens to, I guess, other people, I don't know. So I don't think, like, this podcast is pretty important. It could end tomorrow and we could start a band. I don't care. It's all the same to me. But, like, I do think the problem is, like, you don't have three people that don't all think the exact same thing, just kind of sitting around going, like, and even admitting, like, I don't know what the answer is, but let's have this conversation. Instead, you have either people saying, I should be the one who decides who's on Twitter and who's not, or you have people going, like, fuck you, Snowflake, everyone should be on Twitter. And I don't think anytime you start talking like that, you're probably both wrong. Like, if it's all this or all that. And I also think it's okay to, like, I maintain a fair bit of sanity by, like, embracing the fact that, like, I'm not a politician or a cop or anything. So, like, I can have ideas that, like, contradict each other. Like, I believe in freedom of speech, but who's that bald guy with the the kickboxer guy? He's super bad for kids. He thinks he owns women.
Tate?
Yes. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that guy fucking
Kick
sucks.
that guy off the planet. Like, everything. Like, and again, I know that's not freedom of speech, and it's probably more nuanced than that, but, like,
but it's the, like,
guy.
just be a fucking decent human being.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
And I
like,
think
not enough decent people have their messages.
well, and we all, like, I think a lot of people forget on both sides, we kind of all want the same shit.
We do.
Pretty
Most
much.
people want all the same things.
But it's just the way of going about getting it, or whatever, pisses people off.
And you get wrapped up in these, like, tiny things. Like, did you know if you're a diabetic and insurance isn't working for you, it still costs $3,000 a month to get insulin? Let's all get worked up about that.
Yeah.
Let's all of us take to the streets about that shit.
Yeah.
Or the fact that, like,
or organize car caravans to Canada so you can get it for like $39.
Right. But, like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's these problems that, like, nobody doesn't think that's wrong. Let's fix that first. Let's start with the stuff that, like, there's hungry kids. That's not good. Let's fix that.
Yeah, but we don't want to be doing government handouts.
No handouts. No handouts. So that's how it starts. And then we're handing them houses and cars and jobs. And,
it's the same thing with fucking guns. One side says guns are a problem, the other side says crime is a problem. It's all the same fucking problem.
No, then it's mental health. It's all mental health. Yeah.
It's just...
Well, and, that's... Like, I grew up around guns, like, grew up in Wisconsin. Yep. Most of us had people we know who hunted. I've shot guns. I've handled guns.
Yep.
I just never, ever in my life was around anybody who was obsessed with guns to the point where they're like...
Thank you.
More than just... Like, I've got, like, 10 different hunting rifles because I go deer hunting and I go duck hunting.
Right, there were guns in the house the same way there were, like, hammers and saws in the house for, like, when this job needs doing or something.
Right.
Right.
Or even for, like, you go out target shooting, it was the same way there was, like, a boat in the garage. But I was like, you're right, I was...
Didn't know anybody.
Well into, like, my late 20s before it turned into this thing like, there's people that, like...
Are obsessed.
Get hard about guns.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't... I remember Ollie was a very little kid. And we were sitting outside Sal's Pizza. He was like 5. And this guy walked by with a gun, which is
Awesome.
Wild.
Great.
Open carry,
And
yeah.
Ollie goes, Dad, is that a good guy or a bad guy? And I said, well, the problem is we don't know. I don't know that guy. I just know he's got a gun. And then Ollie goes, so why don't you carry a gun? And without even thinking about it, and this is the great thing about having a kid, is sometimes like you just give your purest immediate answer, and it's a pretty good. I said, I think at the time I was like 30, and I said, I've been alive for 30 years, and I have never needed a gun. Maybe someday I will find myself in some kind of situation, but I can now say I've been alive for 39 years, and I have never thought like, oh man, a couple guns would really get me out of this one.
As somebody who has been held at gunpoint before on a few different occasions, wasn't thinking about whether I had a gun or not at that point.
That's the problem. Even if you are, God forbid, in some kind of terrible thing, like I don't think there's enough attention paid to like the people that fix those kind of problems. Like, hey, there's a shooter, we got to send out blah blah. It's not just because they have guns; it's because they've had training.
Right.
Like, and I think there's a lot of people that think they're Clint Eastwood.
Well,
and you don't know how you're going to react, man.
No,
and it's not good to add another gun to that equation.
A lot of people love to say, well, if I had a gun, I would have stopped. Like, you don't understand, and I obviously don't understand what it takes to even shoot another person, let alone take another life.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
There's things you just have to do. If you want to own a gun, same way if you want to drive a car. I'm not going to try to...
Prove you can be safe with it.
And I'm not going to try to like weigh in on the... But the thing, like, the notable thing, I think, is that like, when it comes to like common sense gun talk, most gun owners are like, for sure.
Oh,
I would do that in a heartbeat.
100%.
I would go get registered, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying with Twitter, it's like these, what amounts to about 10 nut jobs on either side, when like they've said like 90% of the people in this country have almost the exact same idea about how we should handle guns. And nobody thinks like, there's an acceptable number of 6-year-olds that could kill teacher. Like, no sane person thinks that, but we just don't know how to, we're not equipped to have the conversation anymore, and it's because of Twitter.
My parents growing up on a farm, like, you see guns. My mom was adamant, like, you don't watch G.I. Joe, too violent. We don't have toy guns because guns aren't toys. It's that simple. Nerf stuff that I had was like the outrageously large, like ones that it's like the bow.
Ollie has like a Nerf arsenal. We have Nerf wars all the time. Yeah. And again, like,
but now they're like super real looking guns with little bullets, and I'm like, I just don't like. This isn't the Arrow Storm where it's one big arrow and you load. Like, this is like completely different level of acceptance.
Sure.
So we just basically we had to like tell people in our family, like, we've already told you. Why are you getting him toys that are guns? We're just going to take them back.
Our big thing, like, we let Ollie, because I grew up playing with, like, watching G.I. Joe and that kind of thing, and I didn't feel like it, like, I get the impulse.
Barb Zimmerman was very conservative in nature.
Right. But, like, we have a thing where, like, I won't let him play, like, Call of Duty. Because the same thing, we talked about, like, buddy, I have friends in the Army. Like, it's not fun or funny, or
it's not.
And even like, I remember like we didn't have the rule, but he was playing this game and I was listening to it, and there's like women crying and like, and I muted it. I was like, buddy, do we feel good about this? Like, is this fun? Like, is this how we're spending our day? And he sort of came to the conclusion with me that like, I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah. I don't think so.
Well, I look back and like I didn't really realize how my parents' like stance was, because then I look at like video games when we were growing up, and it was like, I mean, it was like Zelda, and it was like Nintendo stuff. And
Dig Dug and Pitfall.
Fucking Dig Dug, dude. So good.
But also Goldeneye, dude. I was sniping a lot of fools.
So Goldeneye's coming out again.
I know.
I saw somebody playing the remastered version.
Yeah.
Is that only for the Switch?
So it's two places. So it's coming out on Xbox Arcade, like an HD version. Oh. But it's not playable online. But the Nintendo, the Switch version,
alone anyways.
but the Switch version is the original Nintendo 64 version that they have added online support for. So it's the same controls, same game, but you can now play people. So like I've got a list of my friends who I've told this to who have since gotten Switches. so that we can all add like everybody lists and eventually just like certain nights of the week or whatever, be like, hey, everybody line up and get in. Because you can do, you know,
you're going to tell Fox you're at your book club.
Yeah, well, he's in Bedford.
Daddy has Bible study on Wednesdays. Fox.
Yeah, Bible study.
Violent video games are wrong. Go to your room.
And I don't really give a shit about violent video games.
No, I get what you're saying.
But it's still, you know, there's ways that you can pick and choose what is absorbed.
And you might, you know, as we did, like, you, it's okay to like evolve the rules. Yeah. You know, like
when you, like there's. I had a paintball gun when I was 17.
Sure, but I always think like when I go to the movies, like we went and saw Deadpool, which is wonderful and hilarious, but about as crass and violent and filthy a movie as you're going to find. And there was like a 6-year-old there, and I'm just like, I was heartbroken. I was like, there will be time for all this. Oh yeah, like let the kid be a kid and do your job and shield the kid while it's a kid.
Right.
And then gradually, you know.
Maybe try Willy Wonka here.
Right?
Like, you know, we were trying to think of like when it's okay to like get Fox into some of that stuff. Because there's like a scary part of
Willy Wonka is horrifying.
Like
the way he murders all those kids and sings the whole time.
It's the musical this year.
Yeah. Well, they're all okay.
With his slave army of Oompa Loompas.
They're all okay. But just like there's like scary parts of that movie, like small but scary parts. Yeah. Wizard of Oz has got some sort of scary parts a little bit too. Yep. There's a tornado, and then you know there's things around here.
And the ones that aren't scary are like devastatingly sad. I never understood like why is Bambi got to start that way?
Why? Okay, here's a question. Why did our parents' generation grow up? Oh, we all loved the movie Old Yeller. What?
What's wrong with you people?
Oh, we all loved it. You just have to watch it. I'm like, are we teaching me about death today?
Right.
On a weekday? Right. When I'm like 5?
And
like
you
want me
like
to
my
see a yellow
preferred
lab.
medium of entertainment to do it? Like,
you want me to see what happens when your dog gets bit by a rabid raccoon. You want to see the dog get shot. That's what the lesson you thought was good. And then Bambi. Oh, it's wonderful. Boom, Bambi done.
Right.
Like, that's going to be a tough one. So we have a couple different things on the docket today.
The rocket docket?
The rocket docket. So, conspiracy or no was on our previous list. One of the topics was chemtrails.
Yeah. No.
No.
Definitely no.
Saying no, too.
Definitely no.
Done.
Just wanted to make sure we checked the box there.
Yeah. No.
Now, let's just give the opposing view of, well, maybe it is real.
Sometimes people get hit in their head.
Sometimes people get hit in their head.
And then they're not smart enough.
But let's do something that so in the 60s and 70s in farms, irrigation and also spraying farm fields for
crop
irrigation,
dusting.
A lot of those chemicals that were used in the 60s and 70s got banned because they were causing neurological issues, including up to like Parkinson's and things like that.
And a very reliable source says they were turning the frogs gay.
They were turning the frogs gay.
I got the documents.
I've got the documents. I've seen it. I didn't really say that. It's just
right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Whatever.
Yikes.
But just knowing that there are chemicals out there that have been since banned because they were causing problems. Not saying that chemtrails are one of these things.
No.
But there's obviously chemicals that get sprayed that have impact on people that get banned and things of that nature. I think the chemtrail conspiracy might be a little batshit because they've obviously already been spraying chemicals on us in the form of farm work and all these other things. So, I don't know.
I've always thought...
I just don't get it.
I've always thought with a lot of those conspiracies, and it goes all the way up to the people that were like, there's a microchip in the vaccine. I've always thought like... that's like the least efficient way to expose an American. If you were to tell me like they're putting shit in Bud Light, I would go like, well, that'll do it. Yeah. That'll get them.
You know what it is? It's killing their neurological abilities. It's called alcohol.
Yeah. Or every time they bring back the McRib, it's got a sterilizing agent, so there'll be fewer NASCAR fans in 20 years. And you're just like,
you know why that shit tastes good?
Right?
It's got that chemical in it. Yeah. Never McRibbed.
No.
But I did do the family night, like 20-piece chicken McNuggets a few times.
Recently?
No, like over 20 years ago. But it was like Monday nights. It was like we all went down there and got 2 of them.
Yeah.
40 McNuggets.
That's good stuff. What are you dipping in? There's a right answer, and it's not. Go ahead. What do you say? My thing is always like, I'm getting like almost one of each thing,
right?
And I'm running it through the like.
I'm getting the barbecue sauce,
the hot mustard one, and then the barbecue one, and then the honey. Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
Those people that were just like ketchup.
What? Who the fuck puts ketchup on their chicken nuggets?
Someone's got to teach you how to live. You know what I was thinking today that I want to ask you guys, just as curiosity. I was looking at what I think you could reasonably call guitar collection. I have a lot of guitars. And I was thinking, if someone just gave me a stack of money without even thinking about it, there's at least 10 more. Oh, I'd run right out and get that one.
Yeah.
If you guys had unlimited funds,
yeah,
I would have 170 guitars. What is the thing that you would go like Jerry Seinfeld has Porsches. He has like an unspeakable number of them. If money wasn't an object, what's the one thing that you would get like a ridiculous amount of?
That is a great question. I mean, I don't know. That's tough because I could say like guitars, but it's like I can only play one at a time, you know, or like 2 or 3 in like a sort of a rotation where,
sure.
You know, so like, I don't know. I would probably say something along the lines of, I don't know. We'll say video games.
Okay.
Like I could see just like, sure. I want to collect all these. I want to play them all.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want.
I dig that. What about you?
Yeah, that's also a very tough question.
You just buy slabs of meat to barbecue?
Yeah.
Collect
Meat, you're just going to collect it.
Do I have to have, does it have to be like a collection of something, or can it all go towards one perfect
Both.
big thing?
Well, I think that's a
One
different
perfect?
question, because if that was the question, I don't think I'd go guitars. I think I would purchase a recording studio. But if you were going to go one big thing,
I would say woodshop, for sure.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
Sure.
if it's a one big thing, that's a little bit different. I would say it would probably be a kick-ass music venue.
Sure. We could do all this in one big-ass building.
We could.
Yeah, we could.
Wood shop in
Better
the
start
basement.
saving our fucking money.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. We'll just have to start selling some Wolf Cola on here.
The right cola for closure.
Right cola for closure.
Wolf Cola, ladies and gentlemen.
Wolf Cola, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of TV shows, I recently watched the latest season of Letterkenny.
Oh.
And it was good.
It was good.
We're a pro Letterkenny show. And I watched the chip debate episode.
Right.
And
Excellent episode.
Indeed. And they talk about all-dressed chips.
They do.
And I learned something I didn't know. As a fan of the all-dressed chip, it's a foundation of salt and vinegar.
Yeah.
I lived in England for a year, and still I have never had a salt and vinegar chip. Because just it's vinegar. It sounded ugh.
Yeah.
So I was very sketched. And then it occurred to me, we have a wonderful segment on the podcast
Called the
So
Crunchy
today
Corn.
we have
Oh, I've had those.
salt and vinegar for the first time ever. These might be disgusting. And if they are, it's not going to matter, because right after, I think we're going to just wreck our taste
We're just going to
buds.
do this other one. So,
Which
Crunchy
are-
Corner, can you grab the mysterious... I don't know. We're going to have to look up what it says.
We got to like...
I'll take a picture and I'll pop it up there.
Where did you get these?
World Market.
Okay. Do we know what language that is?
I think it's Chinese.
Okay. So if you're listening and not watching, what we have here is a tube a la Pringles, but smaller in every way.
Yep.
And it says Lay's on it. And then it's got a lot of horrifying looking peppers and things.
Yep.
And then a foreign writing that we're not familiar with.
Okay. There's a warning on this.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to read the warning.
Warning. Twitter's going to get out of hand someday. Just shut it down now.
Don't think I've ever read this on a bag of chips before. Warning, consuming this product can expose you to chemicals including lead and cadmium which is also known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth
California puts that on everything.
or other reproductive harm. For more information, go to p65warnings.ca.gov.food. Well, whatever.
Okay, let's start with the salt and vinegar.
Okay,
Now, you've had these before.
I have.
And?
I thought they were good.
Okay. What does it taste like? For some reason, like, you smell vinegar and you never go like, no, that should get put on a chip.
It's pretty good.
Is it really?
They're good, yeah. Those specifically, if I remember, are a little on the stronger side, but they're still good.
Smells pretty good. I have a very exciting announcement regarding the next installment of Crunchy Corner.
Oh, yeah? Fill us in.
Doritos is making a barbecue one now.
Oh, my. How have they never made a barbecue chip
I've
before?
seen them at the store. It's in a silver bag, which
Barbecue Doritos?
Barbecue Doritos. What's up? How is it? Have you had
It's
this?
a pretty good chip.
I'm not as a big salt and vinegar chip fan, so they're usually in the house.
Pretty good.
Oh.
So the good thing about these is that they're still dippable.
There you go.
Dip it.
What are you dipping in? What's your thing?
So there's this hell of a good dip. It's called hell of a good dip.
How is it?
Hell of a good dip. But they've got a bacon one, which is really good. This would be really good with bacon.
I think anything sweet would be really good for these.
Oh yeah.
You can totally, having had an all-dressed chip, you can tell that like the vinegar was the component I couldn't identify in an all-dressed chip.
And some of that too. There's like a little bit of, depending on the type of barbecue you could buy. Sometimes there's a vinegar flavor in the barbecue chips too.
Yeah.
Regionally, that's like North Carolina, right?
Yep. I would say out of the barbecue sauces,
That's why we're friends, that we both knew that.
yeah,
Barbecue sauce.
sweet, you like tomato-based, vinegar-based, you like sweeter or sour. Which do you
There's
prefer?
like a mustard base.
Mustard-based?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
I like it kind of sweet. It depends. Okay, so here's the problem. What are we doing? Are we cooking with it? Are we dipping in it? Are we?
Say, you're putting it on a pulled pork sandwich.
Okay. So I need some heat. It's got to be a little. It's got to go a little bit. I like it thicker. And I like it a little sweet.
Okay.
Maybe this is what the power rankings are. Power rankings favorite barbecue sauces. Because depending on what you're looking for, there's
True.
a handful that are out there that are pretty good. I would say for me, I want there to be some heat. No matter what it is, if it's dipping or on a sandwich, I think it's got to have heat.
Yeah. Okay, noted. I'm more of a vinegar guy.
Oh.
I just chewed in the microphone for no reason. The Moonlight in Owensboro, you can buy their sauce, and that's the sauce.
Can you order it online?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And that's the jam.
I need to find a really good vinegar sauce.
Yeah.
I tried to make it. It did not turn out good at all.
It's hard to make it and not, if you don't consume it all right away,
Yeah.
it's hard. And the vinegar is supposed to be like the thing that keeps it
Fresh.
Oh, no.
Oh. Time to get some cancer, boys.
This is the first Pringles can I've ever seen a tray because they want you to grab them out as a tray.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
What are we doing?
Did the tube come out of a bag? It's a bag of a tube of a tray of chips.
Just take a smell. Smells pretty good. It almost has
Yeah.
a barbecue-y.
It definitely, it has like an Asian barbecue, like a Korean barbecue almost kind of.
Yeah, very molasses-y.
There you go.
All right.
I'm going to let you guys
You gotta cleanse the palate.
partake in that first.
Now, it does look angry.
It sure does.
There's flakes of pepper on it.
Taste the lead in there.
Tastes like shit.
You know what it tastes
It's not
like?
even hot. It
You know what it
tastes
tastes
like
like?
fish sauce.
All right, I got to just
It
try.
It tastes like fish sauce.
It's bad.
I'm not eating any more of those. Those are terrible.
It kind of tastes like
Oh,
These are awful.
here.
Oh, give me a good
You know what
one.
it tastes like?
That's terrible.
It gets fishier and fishier
it
in your
tastes
mouth.
like the smell of fish. That's what it
But it
tastes
also
like.
kind of
Ugh.
tastes like
It's awful. They're
God.
not even spicy. They're just bad. Awful. Worst one ever.
It also tastes like, you know, the packet that comes with ramen. Mm-hmm. If you just dump that whole packet in your mouth,
yeah,
with like a fish head.
Oh yeah,
that was so fishy.
That's bad.
I've never had something. I've had fish that didn't taste that fishy.
That's a bad garbage chip. And boy, I love chips. Mm-hmm. That is fucking garbage.
That is some false advertising on that tube.
Awful.
Wow.
Oh, I don't think I've ever enjoyed a chip less than I.
That was terrible.
Ick.
Do not, I repeat, do not buy these chips from World Market.
Unless you're trying to screw with people, because what you should do is you get you a tube of like barbecue Pringles, and every like third Pringle put in one of these fish bastards.
You just see somebody crunch and be like, ugh. Dude, that was awful. That's bad. I can still taste it. There ain't no one getting that. Well, what's a topic that if we were to make a power ranking of something?
Yeah.
I would say maybe could we do like pop punk bands?
The problem with this whole conversation is we're going to have to talk eras.
That's true. We're going to have to talk eras.
First, second, I'm on board.
Let's do 95 to 2005.
Okay.
10-year period. Because I think that sort of overlaps phase 1 and phase 2 a little bit.
Sure.
So I would say
I'll allow it.
Group.
Yeah, what is our definition of a pop punk band?
Punk, I feel like we're in like a Blink-182 realm.
Yeah. That's probably true. I'll say my number one most underrated pop punk band is
Avril Lavigne.
But I saw them live. Sum 41 was pretty rad.
Oh yeah,
like definite one of the better concerts I've seen.
You know who's a big Sum 41 fan? Who surprised me a great deal? Mr. Ryan Ike.
Oh,
big Sum 41 fan.
They were fucking rad.
They brought that like they had like a little metal flair. You know what I mean? They were like Iron Maiden fans.
They did that ended that song, that single, and they did the very end called Pain for Pleasure. And that video was so funny.
Yeah.
The drummer does that live. He comes up and he sings the whole thing. And yeah, I would say they're in that realm of power rankings for me.
Yeah. There's something about like that era of that kind of music and like the nostalgia I feel, because I was like 17 and like I didn't know what problems were and like my knees didn't hurt.
Right.
And Sum 41 had a song in Out Cold, and everything was just great.
Yeah. And you could like, you know, like the hardest thing that you had to deal with was like, I got to work the night shift. Or I got to work 4 hours today.
My boss caught me stealing donuts at the Piggly Wiggly again.
Again. Saw Mickey Mantle at the donut shop again. It's hard because there's some bands that there's a lot of one-hit wonders in that window too.
Maybe it'll be easier to go. What were what pop punk bands were important to you at some point? Like for me, and a lot of these are bands I'm not still a fan of.
Right.
But for me, growing up in a house where like you had to work real hard to get non-Christian music through the door, MxPx was like a fucking life jacket because it was like, oh, this isn't bad, and it's not even really all that Christian-y, but I'm able to find it at like the Christian bookstore and sneak it through because they threw away my copy of God Damn It by Alkaline Trio. So yeah, MxPx was a big one.
Yep. They're in that mix.
That era of Blink.
That era of Blink, for sure.
It's the second technically, but it's really up to everyone. It's the first Fall Out Boy record. Take This to Your Grave, like 2002.
Yep.
That's a big one.
But some of those bands I didn't really like that were like sort of the one-hit wonder pop punk bands. Like what the heck was it? I just heard the...
After like Blink-182, the radio got a hold of it.
Exactly.
And it was weird.
Yeah.
Newfound Glory was important to me for a short time. They had a self-titled record.
They had a... Yep.
That was a big deal.
What was that one? Adam, what about you? You were MxPx guy, right?
MxPx, the Ataris was another fun one.
The Ataris, for sure.
They were great.
I opened for Chris Rowe one time.
Really?
I played solo. And he was super nice to me. And afterwards he goes, you know, your music kind of reminds me of this band, Drag the River, who's like one of my favorite bands. And I was just like,
Did you fall over?
yeah, I was just what's happening? This is amazing. Like,
So I would say, I don't know if this falls into it, but early Get Up Kids had definite pop punk stuff going on.
I was listening to the Get Up Kids today.
Then I think it was probably, what was it, that album that had Overdue on it?
On a Wire.
On a Wire. Then that was kind of the
was
transition.
a grown-up one.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
I think I listened to a lot more ska back in the day. Now that I'm thinking through it, lots of Catch 22
fan
and
of,
Voodoo Glow
Real Big Fish.
Skulls.
Love it.
Catch 22 is great.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something?
You can tell me something.
I opened for Mustard Plug once.
Mustard plug.
Oh.
It was super fun.
Experience with those guys. A few experiences with those guys.
Their bass player has a deep knowledge of time travel movies. And if you start him up, he'll just go on like
They're great.
which ones were realistic and which ones were. I think my teenage ska band of choice was Less Than Jake.
Oh, Less Than Jake.
Like
Yeah.
losing
Mine
a
was
streak
probably-
into Hello Rockview, like it's not getting better than that.
I would say that was the heart of my ska was Less
Mm-hmm.
Than Jake. And Less Than Jake came up here a lot. Like, they came up to the Fox Valley a lot.
Did you see they're doing Scopelton this year?
I didn't
What?
even know Scopelton was still a thing.
It's not. It's coming back this year.
What?
Yeah.
Should we start a ska band just to get in it?
We're kind of a three-piece ska band. We don't have any horns or nothing, but
He plays saxophone. I don't know
Right.
what it calls.
so if you want to, if you heard it here, if you want to, go to Scopelton, find out when tickets go on sale and pick them up.
Pick him up. Pick him up.
And then as I got older, I moved further back and got into like 70s and 80s ska, like the specials and that kind of thing.
That's a genre I didn't really listen to a whole heck of a lot, but I remember.
A little goes a long way,
Yeah. Well, you can only get so many.
You heard one, you've heard them all.
Do you listen to the Interrupters? They're happening like now. I love them. It's like female-fronted ska, and it's not like heavy on the horns. It's more of like the English kind of organ ska. I'll send you some. It's good stuff.
Here's a random one. Favorite female-fronted bands. No particular order. Top 3 or 5.
Okay. I will say right now, I love the Interrupters. Love the Interrupters. I will say, and I have taken some heat for this from you specifically.
Oh, I think I might know who you're going to say. Maybe.
I am a Dixie Chicks fan.
It is. Isn't it just the
I have
Chicks
become one.
now?
I'm not a fan of that band.
I
didn't care for that record.
I can respect that
Yes.
for sure.
If we're talking like surprising, like it, I almost never hear a Pink song and go like, I kind of like them.
Okay. Pink's in the mix.
I'm trying to think of, I don't know, there's like an alt country band called Whiskey and Company. I like her voice a lot.
Banditos.
Oh, they were good. We opened for them?
We did.
We did. Cranky Pets. Yeah, they were fun.
She's an amazing singer.
Yeah. There's a band called Royal Thunder, like kind of a metal band, but a little more from like the 70s vibe. So very like melodic and that kind of thing and riffy.
I would say, Rilo Kiley.
Great. And Jenny Lewis's solo stuff. Great.
Really good. Chiverches.
Love Chiverches. Have all the Chiverches records.
I would say there's a band called Always.
All
Which
the
is really
Days.
All the Days, which is really good. Their new album's pretty good.
I just heard a band called Big Thief for the first
Oh,
time.
dude.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Like really, she's got kind of a classic country vibe. Good stuff.
Really, honestly, like really dig Amanda Shire's solo stuff too. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Were you? in
I
the
was
band
not.
over her? You were not.
I was not in the
but
band,
you,
no.
then
Adam
you
was.
were for sure.
Was that at the Lyric Room? Yeah.
But you,
And
that was a
Isbell
solo
was there.
show.
was he
His
there?
band.
Oh.
Yeah. I hung
I
out in the
was-
basement of the
'cause
lyric
Is-
room with him and talked about guitars.
I was always trying to think of who the hell did we play with that had all the Duesenberg guitars.
Isbell.
That was Jason Isbell, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, nobody. I remember you telling me because I had filled in for shows.
Yeah, you must have like officially joined
right
a week
around
later.
that. Yeah. And I remember I'm like, holy shit! Like nobody knew Isabel was gonna be playing because it's his wife. He's on tour. But yeah, no, there's definitely. I'm really glad. Like
Brandi Carlile.
Yeah,
she's so good.
Super good.
Yep, she's super good.
Did you watch that video of her? She's talks about going to like a women's prison like every Christmas and playing a show.
No,
It's awesome.
That's cool.
Really good.
I played her on the radio show last night.
She's great.
A lot.
Another thing. Speaking of bands that we've played with, I thought it might be cool to give a heads up to some bands that we played with that are really rad that people should check out. Because again, Lee Bain's stuff keeps coming up in my feed, and they are so good.
So good.
So good.
They're so like, it's like progressive, lefty, southern rock with a big like punk vein running down the middle of it. It's so good. And the guitars are so like bendy and
They just sound so
good.
The band is just full of sweethearts and just good people. And they're great. And it reminded me of that band that opened when we played with them at the Lyric Room from Minneapolis.
Eleganza. They're a good band too.
They are really, really good. And I think they just came out with a couple tunes
second
too.
record, yeah. They didn't even have a record out when we played with them, but they have two now.
They didn't. That's right. They didn't because you're like, oh, you got to check this out. And I'm like, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, they're a good band.
We've only got about 5 minutes of recording time left before it stops again, so that's fine.
Well, we can probably wrap this up. Let me think if there's anything else on here. Crunchy Corner.
Done.
We did conspiracy or no? Although we should refresh some topics.
I thought of a broader one off of what we were talking about the other day.
Oh.
That Kirk Cousins is a serial killer?
Yeah, but just
okay.
I think that's going to be a healthy discussion.
That could just be an episode.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's plant the seed for next time. We have discovered documents. We've seen the documents. We have discovered, after literally minutes of digging, minutes after minutes, that Kirk Cousins might be a serial killer. Might be a serial killer.
We're gonna get
And not
sued
just
for
of the
defamation.
Vikings Super Bowl hopes.
This has nothing to do with the fact that he's a Viking. It's the fact that he might be a killer.
There's statistical...
There's numbers.
You posed some what seemed to be pretty credible evidence.
And you found it so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like right there.
We'll dive into it and we'll dig in.
It's like the internet wanted you to know.
Well, we can't give it away. We'll talk about it next week. We're also going to have some special guests coming up that are friends of ours to talk about some cool things that they're doing. I think that's all. Do not eat these chips. Do not buy those chips.
These chips.
Unless you love...
These are delicious.
I think we are pro
Kettle chips.
Kettle, sea salt, and vinegar.
Kettle never made a bad chip that I've had.
No,
We are anti...
We are anti whatever that says.
this even
Okay.
says.
So
What if that just says yuck?
what if it just says what if it just says hot fish? And we're like, oh, what horrible.
This was like a
Literally says
mistake
hot
that
fish.
was made, and they were like, send it to America.
But it wasn't hot.
Send it to
so
World
it's
Market.
just
People
fish.
think
That's
it's
the
fancy.
thing. Like, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images of red
and there wasn't a
chilies
hot-
on here, and it's not hot at all.
Not hot at all.
It tastes like
Unless that's like we have a mystery hot chip in here, and you just have to
It's
fight your
fish
way
roulette.
through the
I'm not
fish
going
to
through
get
it.
it.
I'm not trying. I don't care. I'm not worried about the heat. I'm worried about throwing it all up. Because it was so bad.
that was really bad.
So whatever it is, it has 8% NRV in it. Whatever that is. Well, what we'll do is, after we wrap this up, I'll try to figure out what this means, and then I'll post it on the video.
I was so excited.
It was so bad.
Yeah, that was
really
terrible.
terrible. I feel bad you guys ate a whole chip. I just
Yeah.
had a piece.
You know what would be a good game? We would have to find some kind of prize to motivate us, but like we just keep passing this around, and you have to keep eating one every time it gets to you, and
Not
the
worth
last
it.
man
Yeah.
standing
Not
gets
worth it.
like $500.
Not worth it.
Nope.
Oh, there's a music store in North Carolina called Casino Guitars. They have a wonderful, I've never gotten anything from them or I don't know them, but they have a great YouTube channel and they do all this cool stuff. They did a thing yesterday called the Wonderwall-a-thon where they had a Taylor guitar and they're going to give it away. And you know those things where like the last person with their hand on the car gets the car?
Yeah.
They opened up the shop and like 30 people came down and started playing Wonderwall.
Oh
and
my
it went
God.
on for like 9 hours. And the last man playing Wonderwall wins this Taylor guitar.
That is awesome.
It's called the Wonderwall-a-thon.
Oh, that's great. That's
Indeed.
great. We need more ideas like that. Oh, lastly, quick shout out. Went and had speaking of hot things, went and had the habanero enchilada at El Jarapeo.
Ooh, is that new?
Absolutely delicious. Absolutely make sure that you do not
No plans for the rest of the day?
take a gamble. Because I'm like, well, I don't want it, because they can chop up an actual pepper when they grill your stuff, and then they put it in there. And I'm like, well, it says you can order it with none, half, or whole. And I'm like, I'm not going to order a whole pepper. I just went with a half one. Way too much. Way too much.
What is this?
But it
The
was
habanero
good.
what?
Habanero enchilada. It's grilled chicken with their own like spicy cheese sauce, and then habanero peppers chopped in and grilled with it. And boy, it was the hottest thing I've ever eaten in a restaurant ever in my life. Ever in my life. Like,
wow.
I'm like, Sarah, I'm kind of struggling here. Like, this is fucking hot. And I'm just like
I'm intrigued.
Sweating. I'm like, it was a really hot one, but it was so good. I ate my meal and I'm like, oh, it's just so good. But then it just started ramping up, and I'm like, oh my God. And the guy's like, hey brother, you need another water? I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
Some more napkins, please. Oh my God.
Oh, but anyway, delicious food. Highly recommend it.
Great place.
Time's up. Are we good? Probably. Okay.
Yeah,
See you
probably.
guys. See you guys next week. Or bye.
3, 2, 1.